Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala rasulihil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man istanna bi sunnatihi ila yawmiddin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers. Alhamdulillah, we come back to our series Al-Abadilah, where we're going to talk about the four Abdullahs of the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the four young Sahaba. And also we said that we're going to add another Sahaba who was not traditionally included in the four Abadilahs, but he is another very famous Abdullah, and we're going to talk about him because he's not included, as I said, that he was very senior in age with the four Abdullahs. So we are doing this series because how it's going to benefit us. We're going through the life of these people because these are the major people who had their comments, their explanation of the Quran. They have their explanation about the hadith. We have lots of hadiths from the Sahabas that we are mentioning here, and also we're going to look at them, that how they deal with the fitna of their time, how they deal politically, economically, socially during the time and under the Khilafat of the four major Khalifa. As you know, the Khulafa Rashidin, how they deal at this time, and obviously some of them, what is their opinion, how they agreed with the opinion of the Khalifa, how are not with some of the time, they didn't agree, and what was their explanation. And also the overall thing, the Sahaba are the best nation, as mentioned by Rasulullah. They are the best nation, and they are our guidance, and we can learn a lot of things from the characteristic, their opinions from different Sahaba. So that's why we're doing this series, and there are a lot of interesting stories related to their love for Rasulullah, their obedience to Rasulullah, how they accepted and how they try to revive a sunnah or continue a sunnah, how they used to have a relationship with the Quran. So to know all these things, we started this series, inshallah ta'ala, and we said very slowly, very short talk, maybe 10-15 minutes talk every week. Sunday we'll go through this and and try to benefit myself and yourself, inshallah ta'ala. So let's begin that. We had the introduction already almost 3 weeks back, and we have the names of the Abdullah. So who can tell me the 5 names of the Abdullah? Brother Mustafa, start. One.
Abdullah ibn Umar.
Abdullah ibn Umar. One is that, yes?
Abdullah
Abdullah ibn
ibn Zubayr.
Zubair.
Abdullah ibn
Abdullah ibn Abbas, yes?
Abdullah ibn Amr.
Yeah, Abdullah ibn Amr ibn As, very good, and Abdullah ibn Masud. Excellent. So all 5 of them. So among them, only the Abdullah ibn Masud is the most senior, most one. So he is traditionally not included in the 4, but we're going to talk about him, inshallah ta'ala, in later weeks. And also we talked about the Abdullah ibn Abbas, that we talked about his birth. We talked about his family because he is the son of the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Al-Abbas, how he accepted Islam. We talked about all these things. We also talked about a short life story of 3 years life story of Abdullah ibn Abbas with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Rasulullah had only 3 years to live, during the time, and we said that Abdullah was a very young guy at that time, probably age of 10 or 11, some people say. So by the time he reached his 13 years old or 14 years old, Rasulullah passed away, left the world, and so he has very close intimacy in this short time with Rasulullah. And we mentioned few of the stories that how Rasulullah used to love him, give him hug, make dua. So many occasions he made dua for him. And imagine the dua of Rasulullah, definitely, no doubt, it will be accepted. And we can see from the life, that what Abdullah ibn Abbas became later on, and that is the result of the dua and the mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the story, I didn't mention it last week, that also shows 2 things basically: his love for Rasulullah and also his wisdom. There's one thing called knowledge. A lot of people has knowledge. If you read books, if you go through the lectures, and if you learn something, that is your knowledge. But the wisdom is something different than knowledge. If you can apply the knowledge on the right time, the right situation, and you can extract from your knowledge, okay, this is my knowledge and I have to apply it here, that is called wisdom, and that is what had Abdullah ibn Abbas. That story actually I mentioned in one of the khatira. Sometimes I give some short talk after the prayer, so maybe you remember that, but I'll just refresh my memory and your memory too. So what happened in that story during the time of Rasulullah, that one day some person brings some gift for Rasulullah as a hadiyah, and also bring some milk from his goat. And Rasulullah had the milk in his hand, and obviously because to make the person happy, because he brought the milk, so he wants to make him happy. During that time, Abdullah ibn Abbas was sitting right side of Rasulullah sallallahu, and on the left there was Abu Bakr and Umar. So Rasulullah was sitting in the middle, and Abdullah ibn Abbas on the right side, and the great Sahaba, Abu Bakr and Umar, on the left side. So it is the sunnah that you start with this, and Rasulullah always used to share his food, okay? And that is also a barakah. When Rasulullah eats something, and if you eat the leftover, that is definitely a great barakah. And Rasulullah used to do that with all the Sahaba. So, but he starts with the right hand side. But because Umar and Abu Bakr is senior most and very close to Rasulullah, he asked the permission of Abdullah ibn Abbas. So Abdullah, do I have your permission to start and give the sharing the milk with Abu Bakr? Because he's on my left. Look at the etiquette of Rasulullah sallallahu, you know. He is the Rasulullah, but still he's asking permission from a 11 years old boy, just because he's to keep maintaining that sunnah, because he is sitting on his right side. And Abdullah ibn Abbas said, no, Ya Rasulullah, I don't give you permission. And then he had the milk. He said, I want to have the milk first, because I don't know whether if it goes to Abu Bakr and Umar, maybe it will finish. I'll lose my chance. So, you know, and this is your leftover, you know, it's from your mouth. I don't want to miss this opportunity. So he had the milk first and then give it to Rasulullah. So this shows his wisdom, that he's saying no to Rasulullah. You know, we'll think in a overall that maybe, you know, saying no, it could be, you know, something that, you know, arrogance or something, or it's not out of the humbleness. But he wants to get the barakah. And based on this story also, some scholars say, you know, the time of the prayer, that we take the place, the suhuf, the first suhuf has a more rewarding place. It's mentioned in the sunnah, the people who stand in the first suhuf, the place. And if you have space in the first place, you should come and stand there. Sometimes we push the senior people or people who are alim, you know, we think like a sheikh, or, you know, just for the seniority. Most of the cases, for the seniority, we give preference, okay, brother, you go ahead. But this is, as mentioned, and if you look, if actually the fatwa in Islam QA, even if you look at now, it's makruh to do that. It is makruh to do that, because you are not only establishing something that, you know, you're losing your own reward, first of all. It points that, you know, you don't need the reward. Also, it is not the sunnah from the Rasulullah and from the Sahaba. Sahaba is to go, and if they have reached the masjid before today, they have the opportunity, they should stand and they should look for the barakah. Just like Abdullah ibn Abbas don't want to miss the barakah of the Rasulullah hand, so, you know, he continued to do this one. And this story was mentioned in that time. Anyway, so this is the story in the time of Rasulullah. And last week we said that, you know, when Rasulullah passed away, the family of Al-Abbas and, you know, Ali ibn Abi Talib, because they are close family of Rasulullah, they are the one who had the blessings to give the ghusl, the blessed body of Rasulullah. Abdullah ibn Abbas was one of the person who was in the grave of Rasulullah, you know, receiving the body and then, you know, laying down. So we talked about up to that point. Today we're going to talk about his own biography. What was his physical characteristics? So he's now a young man. So he's now 14 and 15 years old now, almost going to the 15 years old now. And, you know, his physical characteristics, these are described from his own students. So Abdullah ibn Abbas is obviously, because he is the scholar of the Ummah, as we will know from the comments of the other Sahaba. So he has a lot of students, okay? And his student became a very, very good, famous tabi and tabi'in. So one of the few of the students describe him as a very, very handsome man. So now this phrase, handsome man, we use sometimes for a lot of Sahaba. But actually for Abdullah ibn Abbas, it was a bit different. He was really something with the face of a brightness of a moon. Another person was like him was Umar ibn al-Khattab. But Umar ibn al-Khattab's face, he was probably towards the darkish skin, but he was tall, and he was tall and huge. Umar ibn Abbas and Umar ibn al-Khattab, and people used to say, you know, if he's standing from the far away, you see like he's sitting on a camel. He was so tall, you feel like that he's sitting on a camel or a mule or something. But he was like this. But his facial expression of Umar ibn al-Khattab was not described as Abdullah ibn Abbas. Abdullah ibn Abbas, they said that he had also a broad shoulder, he has a very good, you know, physical structure, but his face, as described by his student, just like the bright shiny moon, as we have some, you know, description like this of the blessed face of Rasulullah. So he has also very similar kind of, you know, handsome look in this one. And another thing, between Umar ibn al-Khattab, we'll talk about this today, Umar ibn al-Khattab and Abdullah ibn Abbas has one similarity in their facial expression. What is their similarity? Both of the Sahaba has something called a mark under the eyes. A mark under the eyes, and it mentioned in the books of this history, this mark comes from their crying for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, shedding tears to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only these two Sahaba, sometimes we have brothers who pray for Lord, they have the sign in the forehead or in the feet. So like this, they have a sign of both of them under the eyes. It's like a sign of the shedding tears. It's only Umar ibn Khattab has it, and Abdullah ibn Abbas, during that among the famous Sahaba, they had this one. Now, Abdullah ibn Abbas, when he was only just after Rasulullah passed away, as you mentioned there, that he was documenting hadiths, he was asking questions of each Sahaba. Even the day Rasulullah passed away, he know a lot of Sahaba is here. He went there and asking them. So with all these inquisitive people, understand that this guy, this young fellow, has a lot of knowledge about Islam. And by the time he already learned a lot about the Quran, he memorized a lot about the Quran already. So he has been given the position of Imam in some places, in some groups. Not in the main masjid, because in the main masjid the Khalifa used to lead. Abu Bakr led the prayer, Umar led the prayer. But in other places, wherever he used to go, he was chosen by the Abdullah ibn Abbas. Or sometimes the Khalifa is not present in the masjid, so he was given the responsibility to lead the prayer. And one of this interesting story described by Aisha radiallahu anha, that once she saw a group of people are praying, and Abdullah ibn Abbas was leading the prayer, because he was a young man and he was wearing his ijab. So his ijab was going down, so the pants, when he's going ruku, pants was going down, okay? So Aisha saw that it's very loose and coming down, so Aisha called another boy, another young boy, and he said, go and ask your imam to tighten up properly, because that's the aura of the men during the prayer. Then after that we come to the point, the comments from different Sahaba. So there are different opinions by different Sahaba about Abdullah ibn Abbas. From Abdullah ibn Masud, as I said, he is a senior Sahaba. He is the one who gave him the name, the scholar of the Ummah. And another comment by him, he is the Bahar of the Ummah. And some of the narration, he said, we find in the books that the Sahaba asked, we asked from the ocean. Bahar means ocean. And when he said that we asked from the ocean, that means that they asked from Abdullah ibn Abbas because of his knowledge. Some of the Sahaba, like Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, he said, I have never seen a person to comprehend something, to catch something. If you tell something, he just catch it very quickly. He memorized it in one go actually. And also to deliver the message so beautifully like Abdullah ibn Abbas. Some other Sahaba mentioned that when one of the not Sahaba, he's a student of Abdullah ibn Abbas, his name is Taus. That is to say, I used to go and sit in the majalis of the Sahaba, and I used to listen to the Sahaba. And I went almost 50 to 60 Sahabas majalis. And most of the time in their majalis, when they come to disagreement about one ayah or about one sunnah of the hadith, at the end they used to agree on the opinion of Abdullah ibn Abbas. So I decided from now on, I'm not going to go to any other Sahaba's majlis. I will go only to the Abdullah ibn Abbas majlis. So that is one of his comments. And the last comment that we're going to mention today is from Umar ibn Khattab. And Umar ibn Khattab has a very close relationship with all these four young men. Although he was the Khalifa of the Muslim Ummah at that time, but he has a very close relationship. One of the story mentioned in the books that, this Abdullah ibn Abbas and some other young Sahaba, they used to play games, That time, we don't have people, the teenager didn't have PlayStation or, iPhone or iPad. They used to play with pigeons. Or sometimes they used to have competition between them. One of the competition they have a big bucket of water, and they used to put their head inside the water and they count like how long you can hold your breath under the water. That was one of their game, one of the playtime leisure at that time. So one day Umar ibn Khattab was passing by, and he saw that Abdullah ibn Abbas and some other doing the same thing, and he asked Abdullah, what are you doing? What are you guys doing here? And Abdullah ibn Abbas said, oh Amirul Mu'minin, you are too old for this, so don't worry, keep going. You can't play with us. So Abdullah said, the Umar ibn Khattab come close to him, and he hold the head of Abdullah ibn Abbas and put him in the water, and he put his own head. So he did the competition, and in that Umar ibn Khattab beat Abdullah ibn Abbas, and because he's the strongest among the Sahaba. So and so this kind of relationship was still there with the Khalifa, and he used to make a relationship with all the Sahaba. And in the time of Umar ibn Khattab, when he was almost 15 years old, Umar ibn Khattab made him the Khatib of the Sahaba. Khatib means, he used to give sometimes khutbah after the prayer, not Jummah prayer all the time, but sometimes Jummah prayer in other places, like if the Sahaba went for any Syria, any other expedition, so he was being in the Khatib, he was selected the Khatib, he selected the Amir, and also the next year, in the year when he was 16 years old only, that time Abdullah ibn Umar ibn Khattab made him one of the committee member of his surah. And at that time, all people all know the story. Some Sahaba, the elder Sahaba, had some, not disagreement. They have some discomfort. He's a very young man. He didn't, fight in the Badr. He didn't do hijrah like we did. So, why he's here? And look at the situation. Even in the Sahaba, you have points of disagreement. And because, you may think that the Sahaba are all like angels. No, they are also human beings. And just like any other human being, they had a concern that why this young guy is sitting in our committee. And Umar ibn al-Khattab, to point his, to prove his point, he asked Abdullah ibn Abbas about all the Sahaba, what is the meaning of the surah, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. So this surah, and different Sahaba open, okay, this is the meaning that the Islam is growing, people coming and accepting Islam and all this thing. And when it comes to Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said this surah is the indication the time of Rasulullah is up, his mission is done, and he is very close to his death. And nobody has this opinion at that time. Nobody knew that this is how the meaning could be, because Abbas said, because this is Allah saying that, giving the glad tidings to Rasulullah that your mission is successful, and now fasabbih bihamdi. You say the tasbih, praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask forgiveness, because it is time to come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And another point he said that about the Laylatul Qadr, and the same majalis, some narration says in the same majalis, or some say it's another day. So they ask, what do you know about the Laylatul Qadr? What night is that? They ask, some Sahaba say, oh, I know Rasulullah said that the last 10 nights, some said that the odd nights and everything. So Abdullah ibn Abbas said, I think it is the night, the 7th night. It is one of the last night, 10 nights, but my opinion, it is the 7th, the 27th, as we all know that. And Umar ibn al-Khattab asked him, why, Abdullah, why do you think like this way? He said, he gave a big explanation, but one of the explanations, he said that, Allah mentioned in the Quran, lot of things, lot of great creation of His by 7. He created the 7th sky, the 7 the earth has 7 levels. Even He created the 7 types of plant, the 7 types of, so Umar ibn Khattab said, how do you know 7 types of plants? There are a lot of plants. Then he said, in Surah Al-Yusuf, Allah mentioned, the Wasaba Sanabil, the 7 Sanabil, and as we say, the 7 corns will come up, but that 7 corns could be another meaning of the 7 types of it. So this kind of deeper meaning only is to come from the Abdullah ibn Abbas. And one day, Umar ibn Khattab said, and look, everybody say that you know almost everything about the Quran. Because he himself said, Abdullah ibn Abbas himself said that in my 3 years with Rasulullah, I not only memorized the hadith, I asked him almost every ayah that I know from Rasulullah, that, oh Rasulullah, why this ayah came? When did this came? How this happened? Is there any story related to it? So he has asked almost every ayah that he used to know from Rasulullah, what is the context of that ayah. And Rasulullah obviously is to explain to him. And so one day Umar ibn Khattab said, what do you do not understand about the Quran? Tell me something that you don't understand about the Quran. So Abdullah ibn Abbas said, I don't understand 3 things of the Quran. One of the words called Rakim, one of the words called Gislin, one of the words called Hanana. I don't know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means by these 3 words. So that was his knowledge, and he even the humbleness that he said, no, I don't know these 3 things, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. I have never had explanation for these 3 words. And this is why Umar ibn Khattab has given a lot of preference, and Al-Abbas was still living there, his father, Abdullah's father. He said to one day his son, and we'll finish with this comment today. His father said to Abdullah, oh Abdullah, I see that Umar, the Khalifa, the Amirul Mu'mineen, has a great love for you. Has a great love for you. He has a very soft corner for you. And he has given you daraja. He has given you the honor. But make sure you don't do 3 things in front of Umar. If you do any of these 3 things, then he will be very, very angry. What are these 3 things? He said, never ever, spill any secret of Umar. So if Umar tells you something to keep it inside you, do not spill it. Number 2, do not do backbiting in front of Umar of anyone. Do not do backbiting of Umar in front of anyone. And do not get caught lying in front of Umar. So no lying, no backbiting, and don't spill out the secret of Umar. If you do one of this, then you will be in the trouble. And one day happened, one story there, Umar and Abdullah ibn Abbas had a little problem. What was the problem? Some people came from a distant land, and Umar ibn Khattab asked him, what is the situation of the people of that area? So the messenger who came from that area, he said, they are learning Quran, memorizing Quran very quickly. MashaAllah, tabarakallah, they are becoming hafiz very quickly. And when he was talking to Umar, Abdullah ibn Abbas was there, and he said, I do not like this. This is not a good sign that they are memorizing the Quran so quickly. So Umar said, meh. Meh means in Arabic, you be quiet, stop. So he became a bit angry, because it's a good news for the Khalifa that one of his area is learning the Quran, and why Abdullah is saying no to that. And when he said get away from here or be quiet, so Abdullah, because he was having love from him so much, so he was depressed, okay, and he left the majlis. He went back and he actually fell sick, because of this, his depression, because he got scolded by the Khalifa and from a person like Umar, so he was very, very sick. So after 2 or 3 days, Umar came to see him, because he didn't see him in the majlis, and he said, what happened? Why did you, I want to know the explanation, why did you say that it's not good? It is a good news that they're learning Quran, they will spread the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, because learning Quran swiftly means they don't understanding the meaning. And if they don't understand the meaning, then they will have big disagreement among them. And if they have disagreement among them, they will fight each other. And if they fight each other, they will start killing each other as a Muslim. And look at his prophecy. And that became true. And that group of the Kharijite, as you know from the other hadith, Rasulullah said they will memorize the Quran like anybody. Their recitation will be so beautiful. It is described by Rasulullah himself. But it will not go through their throats. And that's what happened in few years' time, during the later time of Usman and Ali, we will see that fitna, that this group of people who so much of Quran and everything, but they didn't understand the meaning, they just take the verse out of the thing. So that was the firasha of the prophecy of the Abdullah ibn Abbas. Inshallah ta'ala will stop here. Jazakallahu khairan. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.